For long, Ukraine's President Vladimir Zelensky has been seeking offensive weapons, fighter jets and S-300 systems. Poland initially promised fighter jets, but clearly that deal did not happen. Now there is a ray of hope, and this ray of hope comes from Slovakia. Slovakia has about a squadron of MiG-29 Fulcrum, as they are called in the North Atlantic Treaty Organization parlance, and they are willing to share the one squadron with Ukraine, willing to give it to Ukraine. Of course, there is a catch. They want the United States to provide F-16 fighter jets, and of course they've given their S-300 systems, but they want the Patriot missile defense system for the defense of Slovakia. There's another reason. Slovakia says they do not want to have a relationship in this form with Russia, and maintaining a MiG-29 fleet without maintaining a relationship with Russia, clearly not possible. We bring you this report. It could be a major shot in the arm for Ukraine. Slovakia has said it is willing to provide MiG-29 fighter jets to Ukraine. Slovakia has about a squadron of MiG-29s operational, but not effectively being used in Slovakia. Slovakia is looking for F-16 fighter jets from the United States of America. Slovakia incidentally has provided the S-300 much needed missile defense shield system to Ukraine, which has already been deployed. So as countries like the United States and the United Kingdom provide Javelin anti-tank guided missiles and the Starstreak surface-to-air missiles, and of course the Switchblade kamikaze drones, it's Slovakia that's giving the offensive weapons in terms of the MiG-29 fighter jet. Will this actually take place on ground? The modalities are still to be worked out. Remember, Poland in February had talked about giving a squadron plus of MiG-29 fighter jets to Ukraine, but not directly. They wanted to place them at the Ramstein Air Base in Germany and then have it transferred from there, and America called that untenable. That project was a non-starter. But what happens to this project now, with Slovakia saying that they're open to the idea of MiG-29s being provided to Ukraine as long as their air defense needs are taken care of by the Patriot missile system provided by the United States of America and the F-16 fighter jets? Talks are on. Ukraine has more MiG-29 fighter pilots than aircraft at this stage. Ukraine has operated MiG-29 fighter jets and is keenly looking for offensive fighter jets from friendly countries. President Zelensky has repeatedly made a request for fighter jets and long-range missiles. Will this actually happen? All eyes now on Slovakia and Ukraine. With cameraman Lalit Mohan Joshi in Dnipro, Ukraine, Gaurav Sawant for India Today. Russia's President Vladimir Putin, he's made it extremely clear there will be no stopping military operations or special operations, as he says, even though there are some negotiations that are on. And according to the Russian president, the negotiations at this point of time are getting nowhere. The Ukrainian president, Vladimir Zelensky, on the other hand, has sought a prisoner exchange. A key opposition leader here in Ukraine, considered close to the Russian president, has been arrested after special operations by the SBU, or the Secret Investigation Agency of Ukraine. And Ukraine's president says they are willing to hand over this leader to Russia in exchange of Ukrainian soldiers and officers in Russia's custody. We bring you this special report.
Nearly 50 days of war and no breakthrough in sight. Now, Ukraine's President Vladimir Zelensky has a new offer for his Russian counterpart. And this man is at the center of that offer. Viktor Medvedchuk is the head of the pro-Russian party and the most high-profile pro-Kremlin lawmaker in Ukraine. He was finally arrested on charges of treason as he was trying to escape abroad when the invasion began. In his latest proposal, Zelensky is willing to swap this top Putin ally for the Ukrainian prisoners of war held captive by Russia.
На наших хлопців і наших дівчат, які зараз I propose to the Russian Federation to exchange this guy of yours for our boys and our girls who are now in Russian captivity. It is very symbolic that Mr. Medvedchuk was detained on Cosmonautic's Day. He has been hiding for 48 days, but finally he decided to try to escape from our country. Well, for this astronaut, the famous Poekhali did not work out.
Putin and Medvedchuk's friendship dates back to 2003. Over the decades, Medvedchuk used his friendship with Putin to hold his ground as one of Ukraine's most powerful backroom politicians. Medvedchuk has often visited Putin in Moscow and even joined him to watch Formula One races. As per reports, Medvedchuk was the top contender as Zelensky's replacement as Kremlin's puppet after invasion.
A very close aide in a way, or someone who's considered very close to the Russian President Vladimir Putin has been arrested here. Viktor Medvedchuk, he's been arrested. He's an opposition leader. The SBU, the Special Intelligence Unit, arrested him late last night.
Putin, however, is unfazed, and he asserted that Moscow would achieve all of its aims in Ukraine and will continue its war until all goals are met.
Mind you, yesterday evening I was told that Ukrainian side has changed something again. I am not aware of what exactly yet, but such inconsistency in approaching key issues creates some difficulties in reaching the final agreement acceptable for everyone in the course of negotiations. And until it happens, the military operations will continue until its full completion and achievement of the targets set as the start of the operation.
Они всегда просчитываются, не понимая, что в сложных условиях.
The US continues to criticize Putin for the onslaught on Ukraine.
I call this genocide because it becomes clearer and clearer that Putin is just trying to wipe out the idea of being able to be Ukraine. And the evidence is mounting. It's different than it was last week. The more evidence is coming out of literally the horrible thing that the Russians have done in Ukraine. And we're going to only learn more and more about the devastation.
Nearly 50 days and counting, the world is waiting and watching. When will this war end? With Gaurav Sawant, Bureau Report, India Today.
More details are now emerging of Russia's operations in Ukraine and how the Ukrainian army fought tooth and nail around the capital Kiev to not just stall the Russian advance but also push them back. And these battles were extremely intense. That Russian convoy that was coming from Belarus, almost 63 miles long, how was it stopped? How was it pushed back? How was the Russian advance broken? India Today's soldier reporter Rajesh Pawar with this report.
I'm right now standing in a tank pit. A tank pit is a dugout in the ground where you hide your tank so that it is not visible to the approaching enemy tanks. At the same time, it can see them and can fire on them and can stop them. And since it is protected by the pit, it is a depression in the ground, so it is safe. But see what remains of this tank, because the weapon which was used to fire on this was a top attack weapon. So the pit could not protect it. And look around, there's a bund of the road all over bund, and this side there is dense forest. So this pit could not have been approached from any side by enemy tanks. It was safe and it was dug inside in the depression, but it was still totally destroyed because the weapon used to destroy it was a kind of missile which attacks from the top, and it brings total devastation, total destruction to any machine, even if it's thick steel, thick armor of thick steel. Look, nothing is left of this, and the debris of this tank are lying in 400 to 500 meters from here, and the turret of this tank has gone across the road about 50 meters. It had tons of steel which flew across the road and fell inside and gone inside a concrete floor, almost inside the floor now. It was so much of the impact. So this is the kind of destructive power modern anti-tank weapons have, and this makes us think that new tactics have to be evolved in case in modern warfare, in in case you have to fight with this kind of conventional tactics, it has to be different now. It cannot go on what it was 20 years back. This is Rajesh Pawar for India Today. I'm in between an area between Zelensky village and Skiven village. This area is on the outskirts of Brovary, where a fierce tank battle took place in this area about 3 weeks back. And here see behind me is a totally destroyed turret of a tank, and that's the chassis of a tank. Again here we see a typical signature of a top attack missile being used to destroy these tanks. The top attack, most likely a Javelin missile, can be a TB2, or even if switchblades had reached Ukrainian army by then, probably a switchblade switchblades have been used to destroy this tank, and they all attack from the top, which is the weakest part of the tank. Let me show you the kind of destruction it has caused. Look, this inside the turret, look, this is the main gun, and thick solid steel has melted and has totally destroyed it. This is the base of the main gun of the tank. I'll show you from outside. You see, that's the main gun. The base I just showed you, and there's a turret which fell off after the attack from the chassis. This is a chassis, and if you see, even the tracks are intact. This was in a position, a defensive position, this tank facing that side, anticipating any kind of Ukrainian attack. And this uniform, this pattern of uniform is generally used by the Russian army, so we can say this was a Russian tank. And that's the engine of the tank, totally destroyed here. And if you see behind me is a field, total open field, because they're anticipating some kind of resistance from the Ukrainian forces, Ukrainian armor coming from this field. And the ideal tank country this is, and this is where a lot of destruction was caused to the Russian troops by the armament supplied by the Americans and NATO to Ukrainian forces, like Javelin missiles or switchblade drones. This is Rajesh Pawar for India Today. I'm right now in Jelisia village, which is about 6 to 7 kilometers east of Brovary, where a fierce tank battle took place between the two forces. The fierce tank battle in and around Kyiv seen in this area. And this is a destroyed tank, and this is again has been destroyed by a top attack. If you see, the tracks are intact, the tracks of the tank are intact, there is no impact on the side, but the top has been destroyed, and that is a turret. Turret has gone and fallen there of this tank. So this has been probably attacked by a Javelin missile, or by a TB2 missile, or by a drone, which generally attacks from top, which is the softest part of the tank. This is Rajesh Pawar from Zelisia for India Today.
Russia's President Vladimir Putin insists the special military operations, which he says is to achieve a noble cause, will continue. He was speaking at an awards ceremony, and at this awards ceremony where Russian soldiers were awarded for their military operations in Ukraine, he insisted that the cause is noble, the task remains unfinished, and they will pursue their aim. Before this operation started, Russia's president had said there were two aims. The first aim was a regime change, and the other was demilitarization, denazification of Ukraine. So far, 49 days into this conflict, both aims remain unfulfilled. We bring you this report.
Тот блицкриг, на который рассчитывали.
The blitz that ill-willers hoped for didn't work. It's obvious. Our financial system, our industry works smoothly.
Промышленность работает ритмично.
Thundered Russian President Vladimir Putin. Sanctions imposed on Russia by the US, UK, EU and other countries include banning secondary trade in Russian government bonds, banning interaction with key Russian banks, banning exports of critical technology to Russia and freezing the assets and banning travel for elite Russians. In addition, Germany halted certification of the Nord Stream 2 gas pipeline. Once the Russian invasion of Ukraine crossed 1 month, came a fresh batch of sanctions. This time, the United States tightened penalties on 2 of Russia's leading banks, including the country's largest financial institutions per bank, leaving in place an energy carve-out that allows them to process payments for oil and gas. The US also sanctioned Russian President Vladimir Putin's 2 adult daughters and the wife and daughter of Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov. World Bank estimates that these sanctions will shrink Russian economy by more than 11% this year. But revenues from energy exports are actually increasing. Moscow expects to earn $9.6 billion in additional revenue from energy sales in April alone, thanks to high oil prices, which remain around $100 a barrel. Defiant against the Western sanctions and ever provocatively confident, the Russian president gloated about the progress of his army in Ukraine.
As for the progress of the operation, I can often hear questions if we can do it faster. We can. It depends on the intensity of military actions. The intensity of military actions is somehow related to losses, unfortunately. Our goal is to achieve all objectives, minimizing losses.
Nothing's changed in Vladimir Putin's world. The country has been hit by the maximum sanctions so far since the World Wars.
If our partners aggravate the situation in the financial, insurance sphere, in the area of transport, including maritime transport, then the situation will worsen for them, among other things. Food shortages or incredibly high prices on world markets will lead to hunger in regions throughout the world. It's inevitable. The next step would be new wave of migration, including to the Western countries.
In Russia, indigenous businesses are eager to fill the gap created in domestic markets after the sanctions pushed Western companies out.
Of course, it's good for us all if they leave, because in that case, people will start to be interested in other brands of clothes. They will be interested in Russian brands. Before, when they needed jeans, they would buy it at Zara. Now, they start to look at who is on the market.
То сейчас они просто начинают вообще смотреть, кто вообще еще есть на рынке.
On a daily basis, some areas in Russia complained of shortage of sugar and salt. Putin's government arranged for special markets to allow people to restock.
I don't need much sugar, but it's just that it's not available at all.
The sanctions were supposed to hit the Russian economy hard. Ruble fell sharply. Pundits predict doom for Russian GDP, which is modest compared to the USA or the UK. But for the Russian president, who carries a fearsome black briefcase, prepared for any nuke trigger along with him all the time, the end is still not here. Bureau Report, India Today.
This battle was also intense near Kryvyi Rih. Now, Kryvyi Rih is Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky's home district, and this was one area that Russia wanted to target, but this was one area that Ukraine also defended extremely well. The Russian forces, when they were advancing from the south, from Odessa and Kherson, they had advanced very close to Kryvyi Rih, but how were they pushed back? India Today's Mosmi Singh is in this region, and she spoke to some of the military commanders and soldiers who fought in that battle. We bring you the inside story.
Satellite images show multiple deployment areas and equipment in revetments in Kherson. Some of the vehicles have the Z maneuver marking on them. Some 400 kilometers from Mariupol, Kherson lies in the western side of Ukraine. Close to Crimea on the Azov Sea, it's another important port city and oblast for the Russian troops. More than 230 kilometers north of Kherson is Kryvyi Rih. It serves as the gateway to central Ukraine.
Lifelong city. Kryvyi Rih actually personifies and lives that motto every day. You can see 3 flags unfurling behind me.
Located in a strategic position between southern and eastern Ukraine, the city prides itself on having become one of the country's main economic backbones. Ukrainian President Zelensky's hometown has redirected a large part of its mining and steel activities to the war effort.
Прошло 1,5 месяца войны, и благодаря нашим украинским солдатам мы смогли дальше отодвинуть врага, начинает восстанавливаться промышленность.
So, because of Ukrainian soldiers, we push out the Russian troops on really big distance, and right now in Kryvyi Rih factories we are reopening and beginning the work from the 30% till the highest way, and you will see that from today we are reopening the ArcelorMittal.
Alexander Vilkul was the acting mayor of the city till the war came knocking at his doors. He donned the camouflage army uniform, much like the president of the country, and oversees troops movement to protect his mine city.
Направление нападения из Крыма.
The main front of attacks was from Crimea, from the Russian troops to Ukraine. Yes, it's the Crimea.
Это украинский регион, который Россия оккупировала еще в 2014 году.
Occupied Ukrainian territory from 2014 by the Russian troops. The Kryvyi Rih is protecting Ukraine from central part of Ukraine from the troops, which one located right now in the Kherson, and Kryvyi Rih is really strategically important city to protect central Ukraine from the Russian troops which come from the Crimea.
90 kilometers from Kryvyi Rih, a van carrying evacuated women and children arrived in Bashtanka.
They left everything behind and traveled in this bus, hoping that they were reaching to safety. A mother and a daughter. Here you can see in this bus that just arrived in Bashtanka, almost 30 people got down off this bus. You can see a small boy here carrying his soft toy, mothers actually cuddling the children. It is very cold, and they are coming from Snegirovka, which is in Mykolaiv, which is under Russian occupation. That's the only thing that they carry. Just look at the state of this bus. First we'll show you the state of this bus, which is completely, the glasses are shattered, it's been covered, it's in mud, and there is a writing that has been written all around this bus. Even in the front you can see that in black this has been sprayed, saying that this is a children's bus.
17-year-old Pavio is a first-year maritime student from Kherson. Clutching to his books, he waits for his uncertain future in the relief center.
I was in Kherson from the start, and 1 week I was
in the college.
In the underground.
In the basement. You went into the basement, yes. Why? There was bombing happening.
Yes, because of bombing, and we was scared. And I want to say thanks for volunteers. They give us food, and also thanks for all workers of canteen. They don't leave us, and they cooking for us. Also, I know that there are many students still stuck there because they from Mariupol, and they don't have a way to go.
Our special coverage on the Russia-Ukraine conflict continues. This is day 49, but this battle shows absolutely no sign of reducing in intensity. In fact, the apprehension is that the battle will become more intense in the days and weeks ahead. India Today will continue to report from Ground Zero, but that is all we have time for on this special broadcast. Many thanks for watching.